I got the pan up here on the bench. Now what we want to do is I'm just going to take my scraper and we want to go around and get rid of all that RTV that was put on at the factory as a gasket. And then once we do that, we'll go to and we'll wipe it all down real good. We'll take some brake cleaner and clean it all out inside. We'll also, inside of here, by the way, you have a magnet, and this magnet is what collects all your metal shavings that gets caught in your fluid, because naturally you have metal on metal moving inside your transmission, so you do naturally get some metal shavings. I got my pan all cleaned up here, and as you saw as I started there, I basically went through and I used my Lyle gasket scraper, went around all the edges and got that all cleaned out. Then I took a wire brush and just went through one just like this. This one here stainless, and cleaned off the surfaces at the same time while using some brake cleaner to knock off the big chunky stuff. And then just in general, to do my cleaning, what I like to do is I pick this stuff up and I go through tons of it for cleaner, general cleaning. But this here is just some Dawn dish detergent. You can get this at the dollar store. It's only $1 and this works great. But I'll take 2 tablespoons of this and I will just put it in a squirt bottle like this, and then I'll spray it down real good, and then I'll use something, say like this Scotch-Brite pad, and just work my way around the outside, inside, everything. And just as you can see, this thing is beautifully cleaned up and there's no residue left over, and it's like brand new again. And so it's ready to be installed. I got my magnet cleaned up and that's ready to be reinstalled back here into our pan. And then over here I have all my bolts that are for my pan, and you'll see those just came out great. Now originally I was just going to soak those in my ultrasonic cleaner, and then I started, funny enough, to use my brush to clean them, and then it occurred to me that on my grinding wheel I have a wire brush on that as well. So how I got these to look so nice and clean and new again was I just used the brush on my grinding wheel, and these things look awesome. And so those are all done, and then we have the nut cleaned off, and that goes up here on the front for the wiring harness for our transmission solenoid. So we have this part done and we're ready to go there. This here is the filter that I'm going to use in gasket set, and I picked this one up at Advance, but I'll put a link down below in the description for you to be able to get one if you need to order one online and have it shipped to you. And this part number here is 85934. And inside of this kit, what you'll have will be like your new gasket. So you have a couple options. You can get a kit that has a gasket like that, or you can just use your black gasket maker and redo it just like they did at the factory and put it back on. I like to use the gasket, so that way in the future when I go and I need to service the filter on it, or I need to do anything up in there, then I have a gasket, so it's much easier to remove and clean everything and put it back together. So we also have our filter is included in there as well, and that's what your filter looks like. And then we also have an O-ring that looks like this, and what that's for is this gear just goes on your tube right there. And so we will actually lube that up. There's a better shot right there. So we'll actually lube that up. It goes right here, and put that on there. So we have that part done. We're back down below now, and so I am basically going to use my gasket scraper here and just work my way around, get that old gasket off of there. Then I'll follow it up here with my steel brush, and then my Scotch-Brite pad and some brake cleaner. And then last thing I'll do when I'm done is I'll just go ahead and remove this old filter so that I'm ready to install the new filter. So let's get this cleaned up. So now that everything's all cleaned up, I have my filter here and I put my O-ring on, and what you do is I just took some fresh transmission fluid and used that as a lubricant and put that on my seal there. And then all we have to do is just line that carefully back up. And you'll see there's a little post here. This lines up in here, and then you have one here and it lines up over here. And you just want all those to kind of line up, and you'll just look up above and it will just kind of push into place like so. You'll feel it kind of go in. There it goes. Just like that. So now we're all set to go and we can put our pan back on. So here's a quick tip I'm going to throw in here for you. So, you know, with this gasket being folded up and put in the box, it doesn't always want to lay flat and make it easier for you to be able to install the gasket. So if you'll get a hair dryer, in this case I have my heat gun, I'm going to put it on a low setting, but if you'll take a hair dryer or a heat gun and heat up your gasket a bit, it becomes much more pliable and it's going to lay flat, make it easier for you to install it. Now that my gasket's been heated up a little bit and it's sitting somewhat flat, it just makes it easier. Before I take it down below, what'll help make your job easier is you can take your bolts and you'll just kind of run them through the pan and they'll go into the gasket, and the holes are designed to be just small enough that you can actually put the bolts through and they'll be held in the gasket just like that. And so now what that'll do is that'll help you get your gasket completely aligned before you try to set it up against the transmission. So we'll just work our way around. So just like that, we have all of our bolts are set in place, and now our gasket is held in place. Let's go install our pan.